Welcome back to the Kings of Houston. We've had a busy week, and the King of Houston himself, Steve Firth, is here once again to talk all things Royal. How are you doing today, Steve?
I'm not too bad, thanks, Sam. How are you?
That's good to hear. I'm doing pretty well.
I'm moving around between locations today. You find me in our concession stands because it's a little bit cooler and there's a lot of noise going on outside. So I thought I'd move in here.
Yeah, I noticed we had a bit of a change of scenery today. We'll get cracking. So we'll start talking about the WPSL team. They began last week with a 3-0 win on the road to Lone Star, which is obviously a fantastic result. But that was followed up by another thumping victory against a team from San Antonio. This time it was the Blossoms, 9-1 at Campbell Road Sports Park. This must be surely one of the best ever women's WPSL sides the AHFC have ever had.
Yeah, I mean it kind of clicks into place. It's everything that it's good coaching. It's letting them play attacking, flowing soccer. It's pressing high. It's having the right players, to come in and play, and it kind of all clicked, and they're looking really good. And I think that when you get a goal or two early on in a game, I think it's just one of those things where the girls are fired up to go and score more. And when you play forward, aggressive, soccer, then it's a little bit more difficult for the other team to come out and express themselves and try and move the ball around as well. So yeah, they're looking great. And then obviously defensively and with the goalkeeper, they're extremely strong. And so they're very difficult to break down. That's normally a pretty good winning recipe. You can score a lot of goals and you don't concede many.
Yeah, exactly. We seem to have like the same kind of conversation about the women week after week. And one of the pleasing aspects that I picked up on is the amount of goals they've scored. And like you said, being relentless and ruthless. Once they get one goal, they just don't want to sit back and take that. They want to go for more. They're looking for blood, really, aren't they?
They are, and some good goals being scored as well. You watch the highlights back, and this isn't tap-ins or poor defending like that. There's actually some really good goals being scored from distance, some combination play, some great runs off the ball, some good crosses and finishes. So it's good to watch.
It is, and like I said, it's good to watch. And Coach Dan mentioned about getting the fans entertained and getting bums on the seats. So this will surely be the case, and it makes the supporters have something to kind of feed off and have that enthusiasm to come and watch the women play.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that we're getting a good turnout for the women's games, and I think people want to be entertained and they want to see goals. So that's great. So it's looking forward now to Friday. A big game on Friday at home, and one where a result in our favour will mean that we make the playoff final. So it's an important game. So hopefully we can continue in this respect, and a lot of people can come out and support us on Friday night.
Yeah, like you said, you mentioned there's a game Friday night, and it's basically a rivalry game. We're playing against the Houston Aces, and it's pretty much about keeping that consistency and putting in another professional performance. But what can we expect from the Houston Aces that other teams haven't been able to challenge our team this year?
They've got some good players, and I think Dan maybe mentioned it in an interview that we were the better team in the first half against them last time. We played them away from home, but they kind of stepped up and played some really good stuff in the second half. So they adapted, and they've got some good players. So it's about starting well. It's about getting on top of the game. It's about getting that early goal again, and kind of inflicting our style of play on the other team and making them adapt, I think. So it's a big game. It's a rivalry game, but it's one that in our current position that we think that we can go ahead and get the points.
Exactly, and like you say, it's about obviously trying to secure that playoff spot. And if we get the victory, we're going to be probably hosting the playoffs. What do you expect the Houston Aces to kind of, even though it's a rivalry game, do you reckon they'll have a chance to try and get revenge on the Royals?
I mean, there's always. I mean, you play these games, right? So you don't want to count your chickens before they've hatched and start talking about playoffs too early. You play games for a reason, and the higher level here. If you don't play well, and you don't defend well, you'll get punished. So there's, and they've got some good players. So absolutely, it's one of those games where we've got to be on our toes and we've got to be ready to play. They've got to train hard this week, ready for it. So but again, I think that what the coaches have done a good job of, and what Coach Dan's done a good job of, he watches a lot of the games and watches them back and comes up with the right tactic for the right moment and knows how to motivate his players. So they should walk into that game ready to go.
Exactly, and like I say, I've seen, obviously, looking at the table, there's Oklahoma's the only team who can really challenge the Royals in terms of the conference to try and go undefeated and winning every game. So fingers crossed that the women can keep up that 100% winning record and obviously get the bragging rights for the rivalry. And that's not all we're going to talk about today in terms of rivalries, which we'll come on to in a little bit. But we'll start by talking about the USL2 side, who've had a bit of an inconsistent run of form recently. In their last game, they lost 4-2 at Campbell Road Sports Park to Corpus Christi. So that's hugely disappointing given the strong start to the season that the men had.
Yeah, they've kind of just hit a little bit of a lull right now. And it's a little bit of, I think the Corpus game was pretty much, an idea of what's been happening for the last few weeks. They've changed a little bit. They've moved some players around. They've changed formation slightly. They played a little bit of a higher press. And Corpus are good, and they broke that down. And they got us on the counter-attack a couple of times early, got a lead in the game. And maybe at that point, I think sometimes you should go into games, and if you need to adapt when you realise you're coming against a strong group, you should adapt. And we kind of stuck with our guns that game because it's something that we've been working on, and it didn't pay off. So it's kind of a lesson learned. So it's really important for the guys now. I've just seen them off on the bus. They're on the way. They've got a game tonight. Today's obviously Tuesday, so they've got a game tonight away at Little Rock, and it's important now that you go from wanting to play a certain way, Sam, to needing results, and that's where as we talked about a little bit earlier, we were looking at the league table, and it's extremely tight. From second to sixth, I think we said. And so now it's about putting points on the table. It's about finding ways to win games. And it doesn't always have to be pretty, but we need to find ways to make points. So it's an important game tonight that they go away with some points. And then they come home on Saturday, which is another massive game and a 3-pointer. We have to find a way to win that game.
Yeah, and like I say, that you've touched on just now, we're down to 4th in the conference after a strong start and 7 points off the leaders, Bria. So it's basically, and 4 of the last 6 games are on the road as well. So that poses different challenges. But hopefully the guys can rise up to the occasion and get some very important road victories, because we discussed before, if you win at home and tie away, it's usually a good recipe for success. But we've got to get the wins away now, don't we?
Yeah, because the wins that we were getting at home turned into ties, and the ties that we should have got away became a couple of losses. So all of a sudden now it flips it where you've got 2 home games left. We've got Saturday's game, which is a rivalry game against Houston FC, which is a massive game for us. And then next week we've still got Round Rock to play at home, or a few weeks down the line. But then, like you say, in between that we've got 3 or 4 away games where we've got to now go and pick up some points somewhere. So it's a big couple of weeks for the guys. Just talk to them on the bus. I think they realise that and what's at stake, and it's the top 3 go to playoffs, and it's important now that we get these points on the board. We're climbing a little bit of a hill here, but it's not a mountain yet, so it's just about taking what we've been doing, defending a little bit better, being a little bit more creative in the final third, finding chances, and getting some consistency.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, we're off to Little Rock today. Did the guys seem in good spirits heading out there? Confident?
Yeah, I've seen they're ready to go. They're ready to play. So it's one of those where you get up there and it's a long trek, right? So it's about being in the right mindset during that travel, eating correctly and hydrating and getting off the bus, and within 2 hours being able to jump on a field and go and perform. That's the difficult thing. So something that hopefully we can put together today and get a good result.
Yeah, and obviously when I played soccer, every time we had a bad result, it was always good to have a game coming thick and fast to try and put it right. Surely that the guys who are travelling today will really relish having the games coming quickly so they can really try and write off what happened last game and get the 3 points.
That's what you always want to do, right? Yeah, if you're playing, it's not a great game. The sooner you can get back on the field and play again, and make some adjustments and make it right and bring the positivity back is great. So yeah, it's a good job they've got this game, and but it's important that now that they go and they play well. You can go work both ways, right? You can go out there and you can play well, and you can go, okay, now we come back on Saturday and we're ready to go, or you can go and struggle tonight and lose a game, which heaps more pressure on Saturday. So, this is why today is important, that they come away with some positivity from it.
It is. And like you say, they've been on, from dating back to last year, they won one unbeaten run. There's no reason why the boys can't do it again. And following on from the games against Little Rock tonight, you've touched on it, at the weekend at Campbell Road Sports Park is another rivalry game against Houston FC. Obviously, number one result is to try and just get the victory at all costs. But obviously, we touched on it with the women. Having a derby adds that added impetus to the game and maybe a bit of bite. So do you reckon that'll get into the players' minds a bit? Think because it's a derby?
I don't know if you say get into the players' mind. It needs to get in the players' mind, because we went away from home and it didn't feel like a derby. I'll be honest with you. It didn't have the intensity it needed to have away from home, and it didn't feel as though it meant enough, right? And that's the important thing, right? It is, you want to create those rivalries, and it's good for both groups, right? And it's good for the city. It's not just about us. It's good for everybody, right? You want to create that because it creates a buzz, and it creates something that people want to come and watch, and it creates something that you'll look for that game. Should, when you look at the schedule, you should be looking for those games. And that the guys, when they went out there, didn't play it as though it was a derby, and that it meant as much as it did to maybe us and some of the coaching staff. So that they need to show that when they come home, they need to show how much that means.
Exactly. It's a good thing that they've got a chance to kind of rectify the issues from the previous game and to show that they have the fight for the Royals, and that it's not just any ordinary game. It is your rivalry game. It's for the city of Houston. And how important do you reckon the fans will be in creating that atmosphere that can be hostile to the opposition, but also be positive and encouraging to make us successful on the field?
We had a great support at the last game. We had a good turnout of 350, 400. And that they really helped, and egged us on and kept us in the game sometimes when we were a little bit down. So we're hoping that Saturday night we can get a great turnout, and we're drumming up some support, and some new people will come out and watch and whatever else. So hopefully, and again, with it being across our rivalry, hopefully we've got a few away fans as well, so they can create some atmosphere and make that an interesting atmosphere for us. So yeah, absolutely. The more people can get out here to support, the better. So we hope for a great turnout and come out on both Friday and Saturday. If you're out and about this weekend and you're looking for some soccer, the women and the men both have rivalry games, both huge games, both 7 p.m. kickoffs. Get out here, come and support the teams, and come and watch some live soccer.